Hi, Eldonna.
Hey, Cheryl, what is going on?
Well, it's a crazy world we're living in these days because of the pandemic, and we do have a lot going on. And because it's Veterans Helping Veterans TV, and I happen to know that you're an Air Force veteran, I'd appreciate if you could tell us a little bit about your military background, because I'm sure part of your experience in the military is kind of where you got you to the point to where you are today in the work that you're doing around the world. So go for it.
Yeah, well, retired Air Force veteran, 23 years of service. And I went in the Air Force thinking, oh, I'll stay 4 years. I'll go to school. I'll get my degree. I'll get out. That didn't happen. And I ended up waking up one day and it was 23 years later. I was in the contracting career field. And how I ended up in that was I wanted computers. Computer programming was considered an administrative field when I came in the Air Force in 1980, believe it or not. And I thought, ooh, that's what I want to do. Well, that job wasn't on the list when I went to choose my job at the MEP station and getting the physical and all that. And they said, oh, you can go in open administrative and choose your job at basic training. Well, they didn't tell me that there would be slim to no chance that that job was going to be on the list. When I got there, the guy slides the list in front of me. I'm looking. I realized my recruiter had done a number on me, and there was all these jobs that had this low score to get into, and then one with a higher score. I didn't even know what it was, but I said, you must need to be smarter to do this job than these jobs, so I'm going to pick this one. And it was contract specialist. And that's how I got into the contracting career field, did contracts management and administration and negotiation. And I actually ended up doing 5 years of computer system administration in my Air Force career.
Well, that's funny how that works out. You got what you initially wanted, but in a roundabout way. Well, very good. So would you trade your Air Force experience? Or do you think I know some of your backstory, but overall, for the most part, was it a great life decision for you to serve in the military?
Oh yeah, it was, even though I had some rough things happen to me, that was about this much of 23 years. And I'm not going to let this much of bad stuff outweigh the 23 years I spent in the military. I retired as a master sergeant. I got training in a great career field. I got my bachelor's degree, and actually the military saved me. My parents were alcoholics. My mother had died from alcoholism when I was 12. I was a high school dropout going nowhere fast. And the military turned my life around and got me a foundation and the ability to have a skill and have the actually experience and things that I do today, which contributed to me writing my Think Like a Negotiator book.
Yes, I have that book, and I remember taking your class a while back, a few years back. So anyway, you really do know how to present and negotiate. After all, you were a contracting specialist, and that's what it's all about. So now when you got out of the military, let's fast forward to when you got out of the military. What did you do career-wise?
Well, I went to work for a defense contractor doing contract. My first job was with Raytheon, and I was a senior contracts negotiator was my title. And the fact that there are so many government contracts and they want somebody with experience and knowledge on the federal acquisition regulation, there's a lot of jobs out there for my kind of career field. Worked for them for a year and then went to work for another company called Parsons. Well, they were called Sparta and then got bought out, but doing the same things that I did in the military contracts.
So what happened to you to step out of your middle class life and devote yourself and find your dharma, your sense of purpose in the mission that you have now? Because one of the reasons, I've wanted to interview you for a long time, and one of the reasons I thought this would be a good time is that you recently went to and returned from Kenya, and what is going on in that country now because of the pandemic.
Well, I just returned from a trip to Kenya, as a matter of fact, and I've been doing speaking and training for a lot of years, teaching negotiation and things. And I love to do that. I love to help people get a better deal for themselves and never get taken advantage of again, or negotiate for a job, or all those type of things. I've helped a lot of people get money back from landlords that try to keep their security deposit and all that type of thing. But I went to Kenya on a mission trip in February 2018 and met this group of women, and I was so impressed with them. They're beautiful handcrafted products like the one I'm wearing now. It's all done by hand. They make things out of magazines like the things behind me. I was so moved, and I say it was a God-inspired idea to buy some beads and sell them with my book when I speak, and brought them back. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll help them a little. I just brought back half a suitcase of beads, and it's grown from there.
Well, and I met you, I'm gonna guess it's maybe 10 years in San Diego at a women veterans event down there. And every once in a while we run across each other at some veteran events throughout the LA area. And to learn of your work, it's one of the reasons I do BHV TV. There are many reasons I do it, but one of the reasons is to empower women veterans. And those are the people I like to interview, people that are making a positive difference in the lives of others, whether it's through the veteran community or whatever. And I'm really taken aback by your mission of helping these women artisans in Kenya get their product known in a way to where the financial rewards come back to them directly. And I would like for you to talk a little bit on the empowerment of that and how you've seen their lives change.
We actually started with 5 women, and the women's empowerment in Kenya, that's not as strong of a concept as it is here. And a lot of the women work, but these women, they live in a slum in little mud huts with no running water, kitchens, or bathrooms. And it's hard that their employment opportunities are minimal in that area where they live to begin with. But a lot of them don't have, because they were born in the slum, don't have government IDs or birth certificates. So there's some jobs that they just can't get. And then there's also tribalism, because they're from the Turkana tribe, and they're in an area where there's mostly people from the Pokot tribe, and they don't like each other. So it's like, oh, well, we're going to discriminate against you because of the tribe you're from. I, as a matter of fact, have not been able to rent a space for them to work just because of that. It's very interesting. But they were not able to be in a room together and trust each other, and they didn't know how to come together as community. And many of them had been taught to make the beads, and they were selling them there. And I was so impressed with the fact that, despite the fact that they don't have very much, they were singing and dancing and had joy, and they were welcoming, and they were hugging and just happy to have us there. And when I said, oh, I'll take a few beads back, they thought, oh yeah, we've heard this story before. But it just took a hold of my heart, because I thought, oh my gosh, they have such a talent to make all these beautiful products that they're selling there, but not making very much. Some of them were prostituting themselves. They were picking food scraps out of the dumpster. They couldn't send their kids to school. So I thought it was a way to be able to help give them a hand up, not a handout. So I purchase all the products up front, bring them back here and resell, and work on getting more exposure for them so they can be fully supporting by their own contributions.
So a lot of these women, I'm assuming, are not married.
Right. Most of them are not. Most of them have children. What happens, the man comes, and the men in this tribe don't do a whole lot. They sit around and, oh, okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next woman, or I'm going to leave you. A lot of the women, there's very few of them. Some of them, their husbands were killed in the tribal wars. So there's some women whose husbands and some of their children were killed during the tribal wars, where they were living in the Lodwar area, which is where their tribe is from. And people would come and do cattle rustling. They'd steal the cattle and kill people, and then they'd go steal their cattle back and kill people. And so some of the women lost their husbands and even children during those wars.
Well, that is certainly a tragedy. and what you're doing in essence really is offering them a lifeline.
Definitely.
And I noticed that you're obviously, your background, are you sitting at the Fair Trade Center?
No, this is my I'm in my home office and I have this
Oh,
screen
okay,
up
okay.
for when I do video. But yeah, I have a space in Fair Trade Long Beach in Long Beach, California, which is all fair trade people. And I'll share a little about fair trade. Fair trade means that people are, it's a concept of helping developing countries to be able to get in the business world, and they get paid fair wages. There's no slave labor, there's no child labor, no forced labor. Their cultural identity is respected. There's a whole lot of things that go into that to make it a fair trade product, because there are industries that they use child labor and that they also use they forced labor and they don't pay them good wages. And so this ensures that they get paid. I pay them up front, but they get paid and earn a fair wage for their area.
Well, that's great, because that's the empowerment. That's the empowerment, that they actually can maybe not live an ideal life, but certainly more comfortable than they were before you came into the picture and decided to really empower them, because I'm sure in a way it must empower you. Can you speak to that?
Oh yeah, it does. It actually encourages me to, they taught me a lot about gratitude. When I first met them, we were taking, on the trip I went on, we were taking supplies like blankets and food and clothes for the kids and things like that. And we were going to different areas and sharing inspiration. And they were so happy. And we have so much here in the US that we take for granted. And it taught me a lot more about being grateful and thankful for what you have, and to share more of what you have. And when I came back, I was disgusted. It happens to me every time. I get disgusted with the gluttony here. Everybody wants more things, more. I always start going through my things. I don't need this. I don't wear this. Let me get rid of this. Let me bless somebody else with this. I don't need to get more stuff. Instead of buying more stuff, I can use my funds to help somebody else.
Right. Right. And one thing I've noticed about getting older is really I need less stuff.
Definitely need less stuff. Maybe still need shoes, but that's just me. I wore combat boots for so long. It's
well, women do love their shoes, and I'm certainly one of those as well. So I mean, I noticed the beautiful necklaces you have hanging back there. So can you describe those to me, and maybe the process of how some of those are made, and like how long it takes a woman to craft that?
So we did a time study on this size paper bead necklace. This is all made out of magazines. It's all hand rolled. I'll see if I can put it up to the camera.
Wow.
You can kind of see each one of these beads are hand rolled, and then they're strung with little seed beads in between. And they may have, this one has a lot of the straight magazine. You can see some here, like for instance, this one where they've painted different colors, so they can paint them, or they use the basic magazine. We did a time study to see how long it would take one woman to cut and roll and make one of these necklaces. It takes one woman an hour to cut and roll the beads for one necklace, and then about 12 minutes to string it. And then they varnish the beads, so because they roll them and they cut them into strips, and then they roll them in the different sizes. You can see, so there's this type of bead and this type of bead, and then they varnish, they string them and varnish them, so the varnish holds the glue in place. So they glue the strip together, and then the varnish holds it in place. And then it's water resistant, and it's very lightweight, very stylish. But this is a sustainable item because it's made from recycled paper. And
that's what I love about it.
I have another one here this is a different style. This is made of paper. It's incredible.
It is incredible. Do you have a video of somebody making that by chance?
I do actually. On my website, there's kind of a video about baskets and beads, and it has part of it in there was somebody rolling the beads. And I think I have another video on my Baskets and Beads YouTube channel that shows that as well.
It's the craftsmanship. It's not a product that's mass produced. It's a product that takes time and skill and effort. And as we can see by the necklaces that are hanging there, they're beautiful. And it's really interesting to me, the process. How about the beads that are the shortest on there, that are on your right side, hanging over your right shoulder? Can you talk about those beads? No, right there.
That's kind of a, this is something that they string together. They gave this to me as a gift. It's kind of a tribal style necklace that they do. And
oh yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah, but I have another one here that's pretty unique.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's, let's see if I can get one that's got a lot of color to it.
Oh yeah, wow.
So this one, they have to wrap these are seed beads. They have to wrap them tightly around this, and then they do this kind of weave kind of design. I have like,
oh yeah, right.
yeah, it looks, so they do this little weave design in
So
here.
is that a choker? Like a choker?
Yeah, it's like a it lays, it's not real, it lays about right there, and it's really lightweight and it's very colorful. And then there's this one is this is called the Layla, and it all actually looks like a crocheted.
Yes, it does.
Oh, here I have another one right here. This one looks like it's, see how it's like interwoven. It looks like
it's beautiful.
Yeah, so this is, Layla is our director. All the necklaces are named after one of the ladies. So the way this started, this is called the Patricia collection. And when I first went there, and that first time we met them, Patricia took me over aside. She had a little hut that was right in the area where their meeting room was. Somebody had built them a little meeting room. And we went in there, and she said, oh, here. And she gifted me with one of these paper bead necklaces. And she said, oh, I'm sell these to send my son to school. And she had some other products there. And I'm just kind of like, oh, we didn't have any money with us. So it was kind of, oh, I can't buy anything. And I was just, And when she tells the story, she said, she didn't say much because my mind was going. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, buy some beads, baskets and beads, sell them with your book when you speak. And so I ended up buying a bunch, like I said, half a suitcase of beads from about 10 ladies showed up that day. But we started kind of with an initial core 5, and it's grown from there. So we name each one of our necklaces. This is the Akuleo, and this one is the Layla. And this one here is the Selena. That's a new one that was made. And then we have the Helen and the Dina and the Bintia. We have several different necklaces, but they're all named after the ladies.
Well, very good. So did they come up with the designs themselves? I mean, or is it, how do they come up with the ideas to create the necklaces?
They've learned. I did some research on paper beads, and paper beads go back to Victorian times. So I'm assuming somebody in that era, the thing I found said that they started rolling like large, like bigger, thicker kind of paper into beads. And then I guess it's just transformed into this. Paper beads are very popular in Africa. A lot of people, all the ladies know how to do paper beads. And things like this, I don't know where they learned this from, because you see these a lot in different places, but they take it to another level. Like I've never seen one like this color before. I've never seen one with some of these colors. So they'll take it to another level. And they presented me with this one about a year in February 2019. Madam, we have a new necklace we've created we'd like you to see. And I don't know where they learned how to make it from. I've not seen this anywhere else, but I thought, oh yeah, it's beautiful. So I brought some back and sold those. And then this is a different style than the original one. And then we have some solid colors. So they learn from other people or they create themselves.
Are you aligned with religious organizations and they're helping you fund these 30 packages? Oh, you're doing all of this?
I have my own 501c3 nonprofit and I raise funds through that. So people donate, they go to basketsofbeadskenya.org and donate. And it's the money, enough money is shown up every month. It's about $1,000 a month to feed those 30 families. So it's like 30 women and it's 30 women and 80 kids.
So tell the name of your nonprofit is?
Oh, it's called Dynamic Vision Foundation, but it's basketsofbeadskenya.org is
okay.
The nonprofit side of it.
So
we have a plan to buy some land and build a manufacturing site, because like I said, I've been denied being able to rent a place because they're from the Turkana tribe, which blows my mind. But I'm like, okay, fine, I'll raise some money, buy some land and build my own manufacturing facility and bigger plans to build a housing area for them to have real houses, because they have a little mud hut about the size of my kitchen. And it's one room. They put a curtain up to make it 2 rooms. No running water, no bathrooms, no kitchen. They have to walk to the river to get water because there are 3 water pumps in the slum, but 2 of them are broken and the other one is locked up and taken over by a water mafia within the slum that charges people to use it. So I'm want to get them out of there.
Well, it's amazing to me to find and learn about women like you, especially women veterans who are making a difference in their community. I mean, this is part of what we're doing through the virtual interviews is we are presenting women veterans who have nonprofits, but they're normally working within the veteran community as opposed to on a global scale like you are doing. And that is really one of the reasons that I wanted to interview you, because women empowering women is what it's all about.
One of the other things that I also do is I carry veteran products at Fairtrade Long Beach. So I'm helping veterans, like one, Martin's Famous Oils, he makes essential oils. True Pop is another one. She does wonderful popcorn. So I am helping veterans by carrying their handcrafted products at Fairtrade Long Beach, where I have a space.
How is dealing with those political factions? How are you learning to do that? And I'm assuming you have someone who's an interpreter. And are you aligned with a missionary or a nonprofit besides your own nonprofit and your own business venture? Are you aligned with an African NGO or an NGO that practices in Africa?
Well, actually, we are doing our own NGO right now. We're in the process of doing that because it's easier to buy land when you have an NGO in Africa. I went there on a mission trip with a group, and I believe this is God's calling on my life for this. And the whole piece about poverty to prosperity is not simply financial, but it's also mindset. Like I said, these women weren't able to sit in the same room together and get along. Every time before we go back, before I come back, we have a tea party. I love tea, and Kenya has wonderful tea, and I bring it back with me all the time. And the first time we did that, the group, we had a mandazi, which is like a little sopapilla, sort of a little bread and tea. And we're sitting around and everybody's having their tea and mandazi. And I went and served them. I said, I'm going to serve you. And then they're all sitting there all quiet, kind of like this, looking around. And I asked, did anybody want to share anything? And one of the ladies said, we've never gathered like this before. And we take it for granted here. I mean, how many conferences have you and I gone to together or separately? We gather as women all the time. We take that for granted because it's something normal here. It's not normal there because they really don't have a place to gather. They can't gather in their huts. It's not, I've done that where we've gone in and only a handful will fit in and everybody's crowded around the outside. But the ability to gather together and then realize that they can work together and trust each other. They're doing table banking. I have our director in Kenya is Layla, that this necklace is named after. And she does all the coordinating. She was having weekly meetings with them and doing some inspiration and teaching them how to come together as community. And that's where the prosperity mindset comes in. It's a mindset first, and then financially it comes, which we're working towards. We were almost to sustainability, where I was almost ordering every month before the pandemic hit. And I just placed a big order when I came back, and I'm praying that a lot of it sells now that things are opening up, and I'll be able to order more frequently. We're doing something else with these beads for conferences, having people use them as their lanyards instead of buying those nylon things and throwing them in the landfill. So that's one thing that we're doing. But it's all about that changing your mindset. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our group and go to other places where there's women that aren't gathered together as community, because all life comes from us. And if you can come together and have each other's backs, there's nothing that anybody can do to tear you down. And they've weathered the storm, and they've been through a lot together, and they trust each other. And we want to build that type of community and that type of prosperity mindset with other women and other groups.
Wow, that's just amazing and totally awesome. And you empower yourself by empowering others and make life better. I mean, that's really the secret to a happy life, I think, is living a life in service to others.